Wonderful to have you all. I'm Isabela Cruz, a reporter at the Brazilian Report. We are a newsletter-based outlet covering Brazil for an international audience, especially companies, governments, and other media outlets. And today in this panel, we are discussing innovation, of course, but specifically in the field of corporate venture capital. So I'm pleased to welcome Tamara Steffens. She is the managing director of Thomson Reuters Ventures, where she leads the global investing team focusing on early stage companies in enterprise technology. And alongside her, we have Caio Moriani. He's the head of the Embraer Venture Fund. He leads the CVC team there, investing in technologies such as zero emissions and autonomous flight. Very interesting. So happy to be with you. Just so you know, Tamara helped found Thomson Reuters in 2021. It became very active, and recently the firm announced an additional $150 million, raising a total of $250 million. And Caio has over 6 years of experience at Embraer, has already worked in areas such as investor relations, M&A, and is currently responsible for coordinating direct investments and structuring new funds. So, kicking off, I'm trying to make sure you hear me here. Tamara, just to set the stage for our conversation, where does your company draw the line between investing in in-house innovations and investing in external startups? Is this line always clear?
It's never perfectly clear, but we do that. The venture fund invests more in Horizon 3. So if you think of the McKinsey framework of what is now Horizon 1, what is your roadmap, Horizon 2, we're trying to look at what's after that. What is, not being built in-house today. And so, and some of those areas aren't fully developed, right? If you think artificial intelligence, we have legal, a lot of the technologies we look at, what we're looking at is really not completely ready today, right? We're betting on it. What we do in-house, we sell today, right? That's what our customers need today and tomorrow. So we're looking at something much further down the road.
Okay. And what about you, Caio? And I'd like to go a step further. Does that line change in times of global uncertainty?
Well, in our perspective, we don't really segregate corporate venture investment into the horizons, where we do take into consideration the different maturities of the different technologies that the people who actually set up the technological roadmap for us to be able to start working on new products set. So we can have an investment on a company which is Horizon 1 or 2, but that has to be tailored with the strategic aspect of the company and how we are going to be able to get the value of that strategic investment and also enable the investee, the invested company to be able to leverage on the relationship and also have its own pathway. So we don't really separate this kind of investment, but we take a look into our current strategic moment. And that being said, whenever the environment changes, and then whenever there is any kind of pivoting within the strategy, we are going to be making some shifts in the way that we are going to approach the ecosystem.
And you, Tamara, what strategy did you choose in those moments?
We tend to choose a riskier strategy in trying to invest in things that we don't know if they're going to really take off. We're betting. I mean, I think my team looks into it. They look into the technology. We really do try to research what we're, but we are making bets for the future, right? And what is next? I mean, you guys make airplanes, so you probably have to be a little more practical.
Yeah.
So now let's talk about making those partnerships work. What have you learned, Caio, about fostering mutual benefits? Where are the key challenges and what can be done?
Yeah, so there are plenty of challenges to approach that. The first one is to be able to pinpoint the companies that are going to be strategic for us to being able to invest, and also have a clear information about the maturity of the company, of Embraer per se, to be able to be mature enough to tag along with the company right from the start of the investment. Sometimes that timing is a bit off. So there might be some investments in which we have done, but the people from the company is not really that mature yet. They start to make the strategic connection. And in that sense, sometimes the expectations get a little bit slow down because the company is not ready enough. And the other way around also works as well. Sometimes the company is already too mature. And when we see the way that the startup is currently structured to be able to go through that roadmap, they're not that mature enough to be able to pick up the pace. So what we try to do, because the purpose of our CVC is to be able to be a tool of the company to leverage the innovation ecosystem and bring that technology inside the company and make the products better. We try to select people who are critical to be able to work alongside the startup, and from that, make that relationship flourish and eventually getting to new stages of relationship. It can be a client supplier relationship. It can be some kind of other type of agreement related to intellectual property. We're open about that. We can be flexible about that to be able to leverage that. So it takes to account a lot of the internal structure of the company to be able to leverage that, which is something a bit different from what Tamara just mentioned.
Yes, Deborah.
Yeah. So for us, partnerships and making that work after we make the investment, we can actually partner before we make an investment or after, right? And our strategy is usually to try to find a way to take them into our large customers, right? We're in most large law firms, we're in every major corporation, their tax department. We sell to every accounting firm on the planet, I think. So if if you if we can take that technology and that startup into those companies, it benefits them and it benefits us. So we look for that go to market angle almost every time. And if we don't have a go to market angle where we can take them into our customers, we can sometimes buy the technology ourselves. If it's more infrastructure play, we'll tend to bring it in house ourselves.
Okay. I know that prior to Thomson Reuters Ventures, you worked at Microsoft's Ventures Fund and helped uh, contribute to the growth of startups such as Boingo and Concrete. So if you could dig a little deeper in that from other perspectives, not only from Thomson Reuters, maybe it's good. I'm curious.
Yeah, my last company did get bought by Microsoft. So I had done 6 startups prior to getting into venture. And I would say I'm very founder friendly. I know how hard it is to keep a startup going. So I think I always look at it from the angle of the founder. Like, what do they need to be successful? Because it's not always easy, right? Starting a company and making it um, successful is very hard, right? So what can we do to help that founder succeed? We're always looking at it from that angle.
And you, Kai, what's your biggest lesson about building win-win relationship?
The biggest lesson is to be able to be open-minded about the timing in between the corporate and the startup, and be able to connect the dots and make sure that both parties understand that by coming together, they are going to mutually benefit from it. And sometimes there is this perspective and those certainties, which sometimes on an open conversation, you put the expectations on a reasonable level. But sometimes we get expectations of companies that approach us in ways that they feel like they connect to our strategy, but as they don't really have the internal view, they sometimes can become frustrated because we don't really engage, because we do have our own roadmap, and the same goes on the other way around. Because We may be looking for some kind of technologies that are still very immature, and maybe we still have to go a step below and reach out to an university or do some R&D work in order to get that critical mass, in order to be able to engage a company and start having this kind of relationship. As a matter of fact, the relationship with the ecosystem, the CVC is only a part of that. On our stand today, we are running what we call the marathon startup, in which we're bringing in challenges made by the people who work on the day-to-day business of Embraer and bringing in startups to pitch their solutions. And at this first stage, we are doing just what would be a POC, like a proof of concept that the selected companies will start an initial relationship with Embraer. And eventually, if that matures, it can grow into a larger relationship. But that's a different approach of just looking into a specific horizon. We're trying to make the CVC as a part of the whole ecosystem and make sure that the company is tagging alongside with the startup.
And Tamara, you work in such a different field and with such a different strategy and corporate venture capital as well. Would you say that you're one of your MLSs too?
Yeah, I mean, I do agree that you've got to find a way to help that company and go to market and figure it out. But we do make our decisions independently. So we try to look at it from an investment perspective and a financial return, so that we return the fund to the company. And at the same time, work with our internal research and development, our product teams to help the startup go to market, right? So indirectly, the more we help them, the better the startup is going to be, the more money we will get in return. In theory, it should be one circle of life.
Yeah.
So we are very good in time. So please take your time to answer, Caio. For both of you, actually, for the startup founders in the audience, when should they go for CVC, not only a regular venture capital fund, and what should they expect?
Yeah, I would say corporate venture can be really beneficial to a startup, especially if they can help you with go to market. So if they can drive revenue, then it go early, right? And get to know them and start working with them so that you can develop a partnership strategy and you have a channel to help you drive revenue and sale of your product. So I think it's pretty important to pull in some strategics, as I like to call it, from the corporate world so that you have a really strong go to market in addition to good financial VCs.
You, Caio?
I agree a lot with Tamara because I don't. What takes me down on expectations when I'm dealing with a startup is when they actually come in, just mentioning like that we have an upper round, right? Because considering that I want to build a relationship and work alongside with that company to be able to develop something together with them. It can even be a customer supplier relationship, but uh, the whole point of Embraer relating with the ecosystem is to make sure that we are able to connect strategically with the environment that is building up innovation. So that we just don't want to actually put the funds first and work out whatever else later. We want to be able to build that up. So whenever they come along, like with that approach, we usually try to scale down the expectations because that's not the way that we want to operate. We want to be able to foster that up, build that up, and from there we can take the relationship on the level it should be, right? So
maybe you'd like to bring us a few examples about that.
Yeah, I do have some examples in the way, and that it has some lessons learned as well. We have invested in some funds that were acting as the radar for us to be able to capture those investments, and we have done some amazing job in order the fund managers were able to select some companies, but not necessarily the communication for how mature the internal team was connecting. So we do have some companies that are actually one of the companies, I just met the CEO and the founders here. They have this amazing product that is developing they have already a flight plan software that is already going to market, and we are working alongside them, like getting them access to information like market intelligence, ways to relate with the authorities in the aerospace industry in Brazil. But we are not really that ready yet to engage into a real commercial relationship with them. We're not really sure if they're going to be a part of the solution or if they are going to be a solution. But the fact is, because that company has their own plans and they don't rely on us to be like the savior of their business, they are doing their work, and we are able to be open and honest about the stage that we are and how we can actually fit this relationship going forward. In that sense, it's a bit different of what I just mentioned, that we want to be able to work the strategic part alongside with the initial investment, but we are doing like some catch-up work. And by being open and honest about the expectations, it makes our relationship really good, and they are okay about figuring out whenever Embraer is ready to do some kind of new business proposal. They are open about, okay, let's listen and let's figure out whether or not it makes sense for us. Yeah.
Tamara, any final remarks before we wrap up?
No, I mean, I would say we have an example similar to yours with a company called NeoTax, but we used the software internally first. It's research and development credits for tax. And we're a big research and development house. So we use the software ourselves. And now we are their biggest reference into our customers. So we used it. Now we sell it to all of our customers. So it's a great example of how you can, partner for success going forward with a corporate fund.
Perfect. Your final remarks, Caio, please.
Oh,
Wanna end it? We are good? Okay.
I'm good.
Okay, we're good to wrap up. Thanks so much. We've reached the end of our time, short but very thought-provoking. So thanks to you both, to everyone who joined us, to Web Summit. And I hope to bring news of your next innovations on the Brazilian report.
There's one
soon.
thing.
Please.
If you want to catch up later, if you want to see for yourselves what I just mentioned about approaching to startups and the way we relate to them, Embraer has pitches going on their stand up until Wednesday on different subjects that the businesses have kindly brought to us. So step by. I'll be around there. So, and if you have any questions, please let us know.
Okay, we'll be there. Thank you. Until next time.